Welcome to Best Kept Secrets. These are our stories of survival and hope. And today we are so blessed to be joined by Michelle McClain. She is a health and fitness coach and so much more. And how she came to that is by overcoming abuse of nearly every kind. And we're so happy that you're here to share your story, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you. So you are from Dallas, Texas.
Yes. I was actually born in a house in Rowlett, Texas.
Okay. And what area you are in now?
In Allen. So about 20 minutes north of Dallas.
Got it. So tell us a little bit about your childhood.
So I was born into, domestic violence. Basically, I had an abusive father, and he was abusive in really all ways. But so physically, I have memories of hiding, actually, my mom hiding me in a closet as I was hearing my brother get beat, and just being told to hide. And that's some of the memories that my mind kind of blocks out a lot of my childhood. I know the subconscious mind actually does that to protect us. So there's a lot of my childhood I actually don't remember. I've been trying to kind of access as I've been healing, and I've gotten like pieces back, so but yeah, so I was abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, just the whole nine yards. I've just memories of being in and out of women's shelters, traveling, trying to leave, where we were, and to go stay with family that we could. We had to travel a ways up north to go stay with family while we could. And so that was a lot of it, was moving around a lot, trying to find safety. So I spent a lot of my childhood never being safe, never feeling safe, living in anxiety, living under stress. And then the positive side to it, I will say, is that I watched like my mom, be a single mom, work, a million jobs as she had three kids to take care of. And it trained me of like, okay, this is, it kind of bred that hustle in me, because that's all I saw was my mom, like, doing all this stuff to make it work. Like, she had to do it all for survival, for us to survive. And so that's one of the things I was just like, the strength of a woman when she's really put under pressure to help her kids survive. Like, it just gets me emotional, even just knowing like what my mom's been through, even to be able to pull us through.
Yeah.
So
And she struggled too. And you mentioned that part of that struggle was she really didn't believe in divorce.
yeah.
So talk about like how long were you actually there before, with your father before you were able to separate from?
Till about 14. I saw him till I was about 14. And I know I had the choice starting when I was 13 if I was gonna like have to be with him or not. But there was this terror in me that I couldn't say no, which was even something I had to work on as I got older. It was learning how to say no to people, because getting asked to do something that I didn't want to do, I still had this like older voice from when I was a little girl. Like, I was too scared to ever say no, because saying no meant me being in pain somehow, meant me being, something bad happening. So I would just, say yes.
Yeah, because
And
it was 12 when they divorced, but your dad had visitation. Like you,
he was able to get supervised visitation. Um, yeah, and it was,
and
I
at
didn't,
some point your brother opted out, but you still, even then,
yeah, he said no. And I remember thinking like, how are you saying no? I remember like wishing I could find that strength and courage. And there was something in me that I couldn't say no. It was the weirdest thing.
well,
And I just,
you weren't able, you mentioned like being seen and being heard was dangerous. So
yeah,
do you think that played into the not knowing that even no was an option for you or would be just dangerous?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And then I just remember, and I would get sick every time I had to go. Like, I would physically, in my stomach, I would get sick. And I like, because it was like everything in my body saying like, we don't want to go, and I was just like, and I would go anyways. And I just remember just feeling so sick. one time, and I was just, I couldn't do it. It was like,
Yeah.
finally, finally I couldn't do it anymore.
And so at 14, was it, or what, were you finally able to just not go back anymore?
Yeah, because he was still having me sleep in the bed with him, and it was just like stuff that, you know, you shouldn't be doing at 14 years old as a little girl. So I eventually, and there was enough for reporting finally to, and I guess I had told my mom enough. Like, there were things I wanted to hide from my mom because I was scared. And looking back, I'm not even sure what exactly I was scared of happening, but it was like I didn't tell her a lot of things that were happening because I don't know, I was scared. I kept my mouth shut basically. I didn't tell her much. So a lot of things she didn't even know was going on.
Yeah. But you did tell her one time, and she said, no, we didn't.
And this was finally after the whole, like, after he was finally out of the picture completely, after we got like a protective order against him, all this stuff. Um, yeah, I sat down on the couch with her and I just wanted to tell her. I was just like, I just wanted to tell you. And I just told her like that. I was like, he used to do things to me when I was little, that he used to, like, do things to me. And she looked at me and she just stared at me. And then she was like, and then it was almost like a blank slate. And then she was like, no, he didn't.
Mm.
And she just stared at me. And I was like, what? Like, what? No, yes, he did though. Like, but she just, yeah, she looked me straight in the face and said, no, he didn't. And it was just one of the most like mind, like, mess up, because it was like, how it looked, like, you're telling me it didn't happen, but I remember, like, I have, have memories, like, I know this. Yeah. You can't tell me no. But it was almost like she was telling me like, no, we're not going to talk. Like, that's what it felt like to me, was she was telling me like, no, we're not going to talk about that. That's not going to be like, no. And then we never talked about it again until like, actually until last year. And she apologized. She, out of nowhere, she was just like, I just want to tell you that I'm sorry that I couldn't be there. I'm sorry that I didn't do anything. I'm sorry for what you had to go through. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm 33 now. Yeah. And she just out of nowhere, just said she was sorry. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
So then you were able to get out of the house, you were going to college, is that right?
hmm Yeah, I couldn't like wait to get out of the house. But that was also after my brother had died. So there was like there was so much heavy energy in that house. There was so much pain. There was so much grief. There was so much that I hated being home, because it was like there was no joy at home. There was only sadness. There was only anger. There was everything I didn't want to be around. Like, I couldn't stand being home. It was like I wanted to go home to like eat, shower, and I wanted to get out. I didn't want to be there. So the second I turned 18, I was like, get me out of here. Like, I wanted to run from it all, because it was just such, like, so much pain, heaviness, just, it was like, that's the word that comes out. I was just heavy. It was just heavy energy. And I didn't want to be around it. I couldn't, it was hard. My mom just like lived on the couch. She never showered. Like, it was just like,
Yeah, 'cause she was also a victim of abuse as well, right?
hmm yeah, she even went through the similar things that I went through as a young girl. And I actually only know that from my aunt. My mom actually never personally even shared that with me. My aunt did.
Mm.
But so she's gone through so many of the similar things, but she never actually cleared any of those traumas. She never went to counseling. She never went to therapy. That's part of what really drove me to be who I am today, was because I saw what it looked like to never get healing.
Yeah.
And even like the men she chose, were based on these traumas that she had as a little girl, different abuse that she had gone through. Like, so then the men she chose to be with were based from those traumas, because it's like it didn't feel good, but it felt at home, right? It's like, oh, this feels familiar. To get treated like this is familiar. To get spoken to like this is familiar. So we tend to stick with what's familiar versus what's, even if something's better, if it's unknown, we don't want to go in the unknown.
Yeah.
And so that's what drove me into personal development, into trauma healing, into work, and to clear all the stuff. Because I was like, I'm not gonna pick a man like that. I'm not gonna put my kids through stuff like that. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna break all of it off of me. Like, I just was like, I just wanted to clear everything away from me. So like, if I have to spend the rest of my life clearing things, I'll do that. Fine, I'll do that.
Yeah, and you have done so much work, but part of that sort of running away or getting out as soon as possible. Um, some of your coping in the beginning led to other types of abuse, right?
Yeah, I became like, I wasn't sober very often. We could say that. Like alcohol became my savior. Like alcohol became my savior. I didn't know however else to cope with it. You know, I saw my mom was just living on the couch. The doctor had given her like so many medications that she wasn't even, I'll never forget like trying to like help her eat because she was so medicated. She couldn't even eat. Like she'd put food in her mouth and she wouldn't chew it.
Mm.
And I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, mom, like chew your food, you know? And so I saw what medications did and I didn't want medication. So I was like, well, I'm going to be better than that. I'm not going to do medication. But instead I just chose alcohol, a different vice than she was on. And yeah, I got blackout drunk every opportunity that I could.
Yeah.
And
You
that was
mentioned
the only time.
kind of going from like not being able to sleep and having like wine and NyQuil and then waking up and having Red Bull, like just this sort of ongoing
Crazy cycle.
cycle.
Yeah. And I really believe it was, I battled so many deep down emotions, so much pain, so much trauma, so many demons. I battled so much that the only way to deal with it was like, let me just get hammered and then I'll drink all this energy stuff during the day and I'll be hyped up. And then, because it was a way to like, I never slowed down to be with it, to be with myself, because being with myself was so painful because there was so much pain there. So I just spent every day caffeined out of my mind, go, 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 go. How busy can I keep myself? Just like literally I was working 3 jobs. I was going to school. I was literally like anything I could put on my plate, anything I could put on my plate to not make me have to be present with myself was what I did. And then, so it was like caffeine all during the day, busy, busy, busy. And then that's why I could never sleep at night, because I would lay down and it was like all of myself showed up, all of the pain, all of what I've been through, all the stuff would show up. And it was like just tossing and turning and tossing and turning. It was like, you know, because then when that's when the silence would happen. And that's why I'd forced to have to like be with myself.
Mm.
And it was painful. And I didn't know it at the time. I just thought I have a problem and I can't sleep. Now I know that that's what it was. It was like I was running from myself because I couldn't cope with all this stuff I'd shoved down for so many years. So I was just like, wine, NyQuil, maybe we'll add a little this in there, add a little, like literally. And I thought it was funny. Like I remember talking to my friends about it and I would laugh and I thought it was funny. Like looking back, I'm like, wow, it's so sad. But at the time, I didn't know really the depth of it. I didn't know.
Yeah. And at this time, is there anything like that, any justice for what happened with your dad, for the things that he did?
No.
Mm.
What's actually really weird, like the timing of all this is like I've blocked him on everything. Because he denies a lot of things. Like he basically recreated a whole new life, right? With different friends. Like he's created and he's like sold them on all these lies. So he denies that any of this stuff happened. He literally tried to, he's created a bubble that he lives in for his own safety, for his own mental space. Like I get it. But he's had people message me. And so I literally, one day I had to just, because there would be men from his men's group, his church group apparently, and saying like, your father's this amazing man. And I remember responding like, you don't know my father, or you don't know the father. You don't know who I know. Like, you know a side of him that he's showing you. You don't know the truth. But I was just basically like, and I just said, stop messaging me, leave me alone. But the messages wouldn't stop. It was multiple different numbers, multiple different men. And finally I was like, my father took my first sexual experience. If you want to buy into the life that he has sold you, that's fine, but leave me the F alone. And I like said this like very like bold, like direct statement of basically like, leave me the hell alone. Like if he wants to create this bubble to live in for his own safety, for his own mental, sanity, cool, I get it. But stay over there. Like leave me out of it. I'm like, this man can't even come see me because we have a protective order against him. That stuff doesn't just magically happen. You have to have proof. You have to have bruising. You have to have all kinds of proof of that, So I was just like, but my point of telling you that was that I actually just got an email from him and I thought I had that email blocked, but it was just weird just because of all the stuff, I guess, with COVID going on and stuff. An email actually got through and it was just like, it was weird to see his name. I mean, I have it saved under don't answer, but then it was just weird to like the same week that we're doing an interview about all this. It was just ironic timing.
Yeah, totally. And then where in this, what happened with your brother? Because you lost
um,
your older brother, right?
so my brother, he passed away. I was 16 and he was 17. And
Mm.
yeah, my brother was like my best friend. My brother and I, like, we were 14 months apart. So we were like this. We had all the same friends. We had all the same everything. And my brother, like, as going through all that, my brother was makes me emotional. My brother was like my protector. He was the one that was always there for me, especially like not even having a father that would protect me, but instead did the opposite. My brother was the one that would do that, would protect me, made me feel safe. So like losing him was like really, really hard. But yeah, he had a ruptured blood vessel in his brainstem when he
Oh,
was on his dirt bike. He was actually dirt bike riding. That was his passion. But it just so happened it was on his dirt bike. So it wasn't an accident that happened, but it was something he was born with. It was like a cluster of blood vessels in the brainstem. It's 1 in every 40,000 people are born with it. So he had it his whole life and we never knew. Um, but it makes sense because he lived his life so openly and free, almost like he knew he was going to die young. It's almost like his spirit, his soul, like knew it just by the way he lived, and he loved people. And he was just, he was such an angel here. He taught me a lot about life.
yeah, because
But
he got a lot of abuse when he was younger too. So
yeah,
did that sort of, do you see that as any part of your ability to get healing?
I mean, I have a little anger, yeah, towards my father about it, just because of the fact that my dad had a thing with slamming his head into things.
Mm.
And well, I have images like in my mind. I just could see it like it was yesterday. And so just knowing that that's where there was an issue, I have this, like, yeah, I still have anger there, but I I get to work on. But yeah, because it was just like knowing like that was part of why he died, was because of that, like the area in his head and stuff. So knowing like, that was his favorite thing, was just to slam his head into things. Is just like, yeah,
Mm.
there's some anger there. We'll definitely say there's anger there.
Yeah,
Anger and sadness.
sure. And so after like this cycle of sort of unhealthy, you called it before, like just go, 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 avoiding being, dealing with it. So avoiding being with your own self, you lose two jobs and
Yeah.
find a job that sort of becomes the beginning of some transformation.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because at the time um, I ate nothing but fast food every day, and fast food is nothing but really chemicals. It doesn't actually help your body out. So it was just fast food was my every meal, and then it would be tons of just caffeine, 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 and then either in some type of alcohol at night. Is the cycle I was in. So I was extremely unhealthy, rarely sleeping. Like if you saw me, it was just cracked out. Like people that meet me now, even that used to know me, are like, wow, you're so different. It was because I lived in anxiety. I lived in a state of like fight or flight. I lived in a state of fight or flight majority of my life. So to actually like find peace now, people are and be centered, people are like so confused, by who I am now, because it's I don't live in fight or flight anymore. I found like a peace and centeredness that took a lot of work to get to, but I got there. Um, but yeah, I ended up getting fired because they caught me drinking on the job. Both the jobs I had at the time, both of them, I was fired from both of them for drinking, for getting caught drinking.
Mm.
Um, and so that was kind of a big red flag, because it was kind of like God was showing me like, hello, this is the problem here. But yeah, so I ended up answering an ad. It was just about health coaching. And I literally knew nothing about health coaching, but I needed to pay my rent because I was going to get evicted. So I'd already had like a note put on my door, about pay or get out kind of thing. So I just answered the ad out of desperation, but it ended up being something that saved my life. Oh my gosh. Because not only did I get like a coach, I got, I believe everyone should have a coach in every area of life, but I got a coach, but then someone to like show me and teach me and talk to me about what to put in my body, and I started like actually going to the bathroom, which was, different for me, because when you're not putting good things in, good things aren't like happening inside the body. So my body didn't even work properly. I didn't sleep right. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't have normal energy. So I had a lot of physical issues. And then, yeah, it ended up being like getting mentorship, and I ended up looking into just personal development, like reading books. Like I was told, okay, well, start working on yourself, basically. So I started working on my mental state. I started working on my emotional state, actually allowing myself to feel emotion, because that's what I hadn't done for years, was feel emotion. I wouldn't let myself. I would let myself feel happy or a little bit of anger, and then that was it. Any other emotion was off limits for me. I wouldn't let myself feel anything else, because it was almost like there were so many other emotions in there that I couldn't even go there. It was scary to even to go there.
And you would kind of learned that, one, you weren't really allowed to have them when you were young, and then later it kind of became dangerous to be seen or heard or to express.
Yeah, because even like with my mom, she was already in so much pain from her whole life already. But then now what we had gone through together, there was so much pain there. It was like my mom couldn't take on any emotion from me. So like, as a child, like I didn't have any kind of emotional support at all. And not because my mom didn't love me. It's just my mom didn't know how. My mom dealt with so much. She literally didn't have the space. She didn't have the capacity to take care of my emotional side like that. So I just was like, okay, my emotions are not approved of. Put them to the side. My emotions are not validated. So I literally grew up not feeling it, like not knowing even what I wanted or what I felt. I just knew what was allowed. So the back of my mind, I would just be like, would mom approve this or not approve this? Because that was what I was trained. It was like, I couldn't have an emotional anything. There was no space for my emotions anywhere in our lives. So that I wasn't allowed to feel. So I chose, okay, let me just be the happy one. So I was always that friend that was like happy, but it's because I was hiding all this pain that I'd been carrying for so long, and would just get blackout drunk every chance I got to, because I didn't want to feel anything.
So now you like found this new like health world, basically, where you're like eating a little bit better. It sort of gets you to moving your body then. How did you handle all that coming up?
Um, well, part of it was I was helping other people. And that was a lot of what helped me heal, was focusing on helping other people's pain somehow started healing something in me. And as I started mentoring other people, it was almost like I was mentoring myself, because it would be like the words that they needed to hear, I would say to them, and I'd be like, yeah, that's really good. And so I almost started giving myself advice as I found myself giving other people advice. To other people, like, no, you can do it, just stick to it. It's discipline. I'm like teaching other people how to live healthier, because as I've been trained what to do, I'm just training other people what to do. And it's literally like I was training myself as I was teaching them and training them. And I just started, I'd have people cry and tell me how much they changed. I changed their life. And it opened up a space where it was almost like I couldn't help but cry, but it was crying in a good way, because it was a joyful cry. And I didn't cry at all. Like I had let myself cry majority of my life. Even when my brother died, the only time I ever cried was if I got drunk enough and somebody would trigger it. And then I might cry, but I'd go in the corner and cry. I wouldn't let anyone see me crying, because remember, like showing emotion was like not approved of. So I would hide it. I wouldn't let anyone comfort me. Like no one's allowed to know I was crying. I'd bawl my eyes out in the bathroom, come out like, okay, where's the next shot? Let's go. Like just completely.
So was this kind of the first experience of like allowing an emotion that was more of a release and like felt good?
100%.
Really
Yeah.
powerful.
100%. And I remember even trying to fight it, but I wouldn't even be able to fight it. And it would be overwhelming, but it was very releasing. It was very healing. And it was like, it was okay. Right. Like it started to show me like, you can cry and nothing bad's going to happen. Like you can, but I would still talk crap to myself in my head from my childhood. Like, like, oh, that's weakness. That like, there would still be voices that would pop up from what I remember hearing in my childhood, is that we don't cry, like, don't, I tied crying to weakness. Instead of it's healthy to cry. That needs to come up and out. I wasn't taught that though. It was the opposite.
Yeah. And so, I mean, obviously those voices had been around a lot longer than you had now found this new sort of world of healing and a new possibility, would you say?
For sure. Yeah. And then just digging into like personal growth and learning about how the mind works and learning how the mind and the emotions were connected. That was a huge epiphany for me. Knowing that even like what you think releases chemicals in the bloodstream, and it affects your actual health. It affects if you're depressed, it affects if you get cancer. Like negative, like, so feelings of unforgiveness when you're thinking about someone and you're upset, and those chemicals that upset, those chemicals being released in the bloodstream over and over again, it's proven can literally cause cancer years down the road. So
Mm.
I started learning about how the body really functioned, and then how much I like had inside that I really needed to handle. I also did a lot of Joyce Meyer. I don't know if you know who that is, but
Mhm.
she's a phenomenal speaker, but she also went the same thing. She was also she was abused, molested by her father, and then ended up like being there holding his hand when he died.
Wow.
Like, so went through this whole journey. And so it taught me a lot about like what I want to be, what I want to, like, like I would rather be like the courage it would take to get to that place. And I do believe I'm getting close to that place. Like, even whether I get a response from him or not, or whether he and I were to ever talk again, I feel like I could still do a lot of that work internally on my own, and work on getting that courage. Because like to the stories that she shared, and then to hold his hand and be saying I love you on his deathbed, I was like, it was, I was just like, the courage and the work and the strength, that would take to end up holding the hand of your abuser who put you through so much pain the majority of your life. I like, envy is not the right word, but what would be the word for that? Like, I didn't envy
Admire.
it. Say it again.
Admire.
Admired. Oh my gosh, I admired that so much about her. So I listened to Joyce Meyer like every day, every single morning when I'd wake up. It'd be the first thing I'd put on, because I realized it was her mindset I needed to adapt. Because the mindset I had me in anger, had me in depression, had me in upset, had me in a lot of bad, like, negative emotions, lower emotions.
Do you think those were necessary though? Like,
Oh
do
yeah,
you think you needed those to get to the next sort of stage, for lack of a better term?
100%. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because it also, like, not only did it build like who I am now, like all kinds of different strength and courage. Like, there's a lot of emotional intelligence that I have now. I've even had a lot of people say that to me. Like, a guy I was on the phone with like a couple of days ago, he was like, "Wow, like a lot of people aren't able to do that." And I really, like, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm very emotionally intelligent. Thank you. That's what I was thinking. But it's because of all of this stuff. It's because of, it's not stuff that I've read. It's stuff that I actually experienced. So it's like, experiential learning, experiential training that I did read books. There's actually a book called Emotional Intelligence. And there are a lot of books that I did read, but I actually would put it into use. So I actually could heal myself and, you
Yeah,
know,
when you say you sort of like that one job that switched to this health coach job was transformational, it's giving a lot of credit to that job, but it really, you took it and like dove headfirst into self-development, like learning how to help your clients and also to help yourself along the way.
yeah, because I'm big on, like, you have to be what you preach. Like, and I can't ever talk to people about what I don't actually do. Like, so I always, but you'll see me on fire about stuff that I'm actually going through and experiencing. Because I'm like, you got to know this stuff. I get really, when I heal something or when I've moved forward, like, I'm really passionate about giving that away. Just because like someone gave it to me, like Joyce Meyer. That's why I always say, like, my intention now in the world is to be the woman that I needed. I needed the Joyce Meyer in my life, and like, I needed these different teachers. And so that's my goal now, is as I've taken pieces of all of them, my goal is to just be a different generation of that for the next generation, is to be who I literally needed growing up. Like, I desperately needed Joyce Meyer. Like, I'm like, ugh, the teachings, the nights that I cried, because she would say things that I would be like, oh my gosh, like, you've been through it too. And I would just cry, and I would be like, I'm not crazy. It would make me feel like I'm not crazy. Like, what I feel is valid, because, right, for so long I wasn't allowed to have valid emotions. So I would just
Yeah.
think I was crazy, or that something was wrong with me. So her being so open and vulnerable, expressing the feelings that she went through, like the rage that she went through, I was just like, okay, like, it gave me permission, that it was okay, that I could feel that, that I could go through this emotional roller coaster. And yeah, she made me feel like I wasn't crazy.
Right. Well, and what's so amazing is that you grew up in a space where, you said it's not safe to be seen or heard, or, I wasn't allowed to share feelings or have thoughts of my own. And now you're very much seen and heard, which is amazing. And you do it for the purpose of healing others and yourself. And I think that's super just something to also admire, just so you know. So just like you
Mhm.
admire Joyce Myers. Um, but you also mentioned to me about having this belief that before we come to this earth, we have a conversation with God. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So this actually, this belief helped me a lot in life because, and I believe that, because I've had a lot of different beliefs growing up, but I realized a lot of the beliefs I had didn't serve me. Like even having a belief that like I'm not enough, like that doesn't serve who God's calling me to be, right? I can't believe that and then still achieve all the things I need to achieve. How am I going to help all these people if I believe, oh, I'm not enough? I have to believe God made me perfect, everything perfect for this moment right now. Even like to be on this with you guys, it's like I remind myself like God built everything in me, or I wouldn't be here in this moment. He wouldn't have called this moment forth if I wasn't ready for all the things right now that He's bringing into my life. Like so, that's how I get rid of nerves or insecurities, like old beliefs, is like rewiring with new beliefs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally had to. I just I've always believed in a higher power. I've always believed in God. We church hopped for like a long majority of my life. We church hopped, and I realized like my connection with God was always the same. Didn't matter what I called myself. It didn't matter what church I went to. Like I still had this same connection. It didn't really matter. But yeah, so I believe that before we come to earth, that we basically have a connection with God, and we talk about, okay, we're going to go through all this. We're going to go through all this. We're going to go through all this. I'm going to come into this family because I'm going to need these parents in order to go through these things to become this woman. And I'm going to grow up in this environment because it's going to teach me this. It's going to teach me maybe humility. It's going to teach me like how to be around all these different kind of people that don't look like me. Like I grew up, I was the only white girl, in a lot of the schools I went to, I was like the only white girl or in my classes. And it taught me racism because I felt it. I was, like I was the only white girl. So I was the one who was like the odd man out, so I got to experience racism, but then also appreciate all the different colors of the world and love all of them. But so I believe I chose that, like that me and God decided, hey, this is how you're going to grow up because this is how I need you to be. So I'm going to land you here. Okay, cool. You're going to go here. You're going to be mixing mingle with these people. You're going to go through this tragedy, this like hard thing. You're going to have to go through this thing, because going through all of these things, it's like this, whole thing will end up being like who I need you to be, because your soul's purpose is actually to help this person and this person and this person, and to be able to see life a certain way. And so that's what I believe, like it helps you see life a certain way and become a certain person, by like who you and God agree that you're going to be coming here. So it shifted everything in me when I took that belief on, that I was like, I chose my father.
Mm.
I chose to go through hell. I chose it. And I have become a freaking bomb woman because of going through all of that I had to go through.
Absolutely.
Because even
yeah.
I was gonna say, just even considering like the life that I went through and the struggles and just all the stuff, and I think about like what would I have turned out like if I had grown up with like the white picket fence, and like the perfect little life, like I just wonder like how would I have turned out, and I'm like not half as cool as I am. That's just what I think about. I'm like, I wouldn't choose. And looking back now, everything I've been through that I've overcome, and what I've like gotten to accomplish because of the hard stuff I went through. Because like my ability to handle and cope with things is like a 10. Like I believe so strongly in myself because of all the crap I went through, that I'm like, I have this confidence in myself of knowing I can handle anything that comes to me. Like no question. Because I've already handled so much that I'm like, look, if I can go through all that, like bring it on. Like I have this crazy confidence in myself that a lot of people see and they're like, yeah, why are you so confident? And I'm like, if you knew, like I wouldn't really wish all the stuff I've had to go through. I wouldn't wish it on somebody, but I wouldn't take it back. Like if I had to go back and redesign my life, I would probably still allow myself to go through everything terrible, everything hard, all the challenges. I would still allow myself to go through it just to become who I have been able to become, and to help the people that I'm able to help and that I have helped, because I wouldn't be able to, I'm like, I don't even know what I would have to say if I hadn't been through all that. Like it literally gave me who I am, it literally gave me a purpose.
So what would you say to, if you could talk back to you when you were younger going through this?
Ooh, what's funny is I've actually kind of done a little bit of this work where I actually like go like comfort that little girl. But I would just tell her to keep going and that you're gonna make it and you're gonna be everything that you were meant to be in this world and that you're gonna change so many lives and just hang in there.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that so much. Well, I'm so grateful you were here with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Ooh, yeah, I guess I would just say that like nothing, nothing happens by accident. And if you can find a way to get purpose out of it, what you learned from each circumstance, it all feeds a greater purpose. We may never get the answer right now, but we will get it eventually. We'll get it, over time. And if you can find a way to use all those things, because I believe every circumstance is a gift. And so it's just finding, no matter how painful, that every single circumstance is just a gift. So it's just finding what was the gift in this? What was the life maybe in the future that I get to create from this? Or, finding the gift somehow, some way in it. And then I would say learning to forgive. Forgiveness has been, but not only forgiving the person for hurting you, the abuser, or it's learning how to forgive ourselves.
Mm,
Because we think we're mad at the other person, but a lot of times we're mad at the decisions that we made. We're mad that we stayed. We're mad that we didn't see it coming. We're mad at ourselves that how did I not see it? How did I stay? We literally we're angry a lot of times and it's actually at ourselves. And we think we're blaming them. We think we're pointing the finger, but it's actually a pain that we hold deep down because we're mad at ourselves for making the decisions that we've made that got us to where we are. So it would be my biggest thing would be to take time to forgive yourself. And even if you just literally tell yourself I forgive you, it's okay, you did the best that you could with the knowledge that you had. I've done that prayer so many times. There's actually one called Ho'oponopono. So it's you say to yourself, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you.
mm,
I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And you just say that to yourself over and over and over and over again. I've said that prayer to myself and just cried so many times and just forgiven myself for not doing what should have been right, or but we always do only what we have what we mentally know at the right time. We only do what we know to do at the time. That's why I don't blame my mom for anything. I don't blame, I believe my mom did the absolute best she could with the knowledge that she had at every moment, or she would have done different. And same with me, I continued to go over there with my father because it was that was the knowledge I had at the time. It wasn't this level of myself. It was a younger, she didn't know, so it's so not beating ourselves up, but instead choosing to forgive ourselves that we didn't make this perfect decision. We didn't make whatever we think now that woman should have done or that man should have done. It's giving compassion and love and forgiveness for ourselves. I would say is a priority to freedom. Is a key to freedom.
yeah, that is definitely a gift that we could give ourselves. And well, it has been a gift to have you here with us. So if you want to know more about Michelle and her coaching, please send her an email to Michelle McClain 444@gmail.com. You can also find her on Clubhouse at Michelle McClain 444 and Instagram Design Your Body. And if you have a story of survival and hope that you would like to share with us, please email us at survivors@lifehouseproject.org. And to learn more about Lifehouse Project, visit us at lifehouseproject.org and tune in next week for another story of survival and hope. And please like and share and comment on our videos. We just never know who can benefit from these stories. They are super powerful and people need to hear about it. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.